This conference will now be recorded.
Give every day the chance to become the most beautiful day of your life. Wishing you good afternoon filled with relaxation. I am Dimple from the Department of ECE third year. Today's topic of the webinar is Design and Development of Embedded Software using EA-ITB Framework. A day without prayer is a day without blessing, and a life without prayer is a life without power. Now I call upon Jerlyn and Sherlyn to lead us with a word of prayer. Over to you.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Today's Bible reading is taken from Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. This is the word of God. Thanks be to the Lord.
Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you, Jerlyn and Sherlyn. We would like to extend a special welcome to the speaker of the day. Now I call upon Hridaya ji to deliver the welcome speech. Over to you.
Thank you, Dimple. Good afternoon to everyone gathered here. I hope everyone is safe and doing good. Thank you, Almighty. It's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to you all, and on behalf of Lala Institute of Technology, our management, administrator, principal, vice principal, and HOD of ECE department, we wholeheartedly welcome all the participants for this webinar. On behalf of the department, we, the coordinators, welcome our speakers of today's session. Ms. A. Revati, Senior System Engineer at Jasmine Infotech, Chennai in Quality Department. It's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to you, ma'am. Your presence makes us very happy. I'm sure we will be enriched by this webinar on embedded software. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation even in this pandemic situation. We welcome you wholeheartedly for this webinar. In this context, I congratulate all the coordinators of this webinar, faculty members of ECE, and professional friends to make this happen. Dear participants, once again, I welcome for this wonderful technical day. Thank you. Over to you, Dimple.
Thank you, Hridaya. Now we will have the introduction about the speaker by Chandini. Over to you.
Good morning, all. It's me an immense pleasure to be
Chandini, you are not audible, ma.
ma'am now.
Chandani, you have more background noise, ma. The background is very noisy.
Remove the headset and speak.
Sir, now is it okay, sir?
Yeah,
Yes,
now
ma.
it's correct.
Okay, sir. Good morning, all. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce our resource person, Ms. A. Revati, working as a senior system engineer at Jasmine Infotech, Chennai. She pursued her UG in BECE from Shriram Engineering College and graduated ME Control System from College of Engineering, Guindy, Anna University, Chennai. She has worked as project associate in College of Engineering, Guindy in 2017. She had enriched knowledge in both industrial and academic experience. At present, she is working as a senior system engineer at Jasmine Infotech, Chennai, embedded software supplier for high-profile companies. Her area of specialization includes control system, microprocessor, and microcontroller, ASPIC standard. She has handled various projects in embedded technology for automobile industry. She is a quality assurance engineer for software delivery, process establishment for projects, and process level assessment based on ASPIC standard. We gladly welcome you, ma'am. Over to you, Dimple.
Thank you, Chandani. Now, our speaker will take over today's session. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for giving me such a wonderful welcome, and I feel very grateful to give you such a interesting and most useful session for on embedded for the growing engineers from ECE and EEE department, and I heartfully thank Dr. Nalini Joseph and Priya for giving me this wonderful opportunity to give you a webinar which is going to be very useful for you to choose your career in the field of embedded. So thank you very much. I think you all can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the confirmation. And okay, so as you all might be knowing, this session is on design and development of an embedded software using the tools EA, ITB, and the testing framework. Okay, so basically our knowledge on embedded in the engineering papers would be like most of the thing that would be covering will be the microprocessor and the microcontroller paper, which we are gaining knowledge in our sixth semester. I think third year students of ECE will be learning this paper in the sixth semester. I think that paper will give you more knowledge about how to develop a software and how to configure a microcontroller to interface a few real-time interfaces to your microcontroller. So I think the basic thing of the microcontroller which we'll be learning is 8051 and the microprocessor will be 8086. And today we are going to know or gain knowledge about a few other microcontrollers which is being used in real time in embedded field. And today I'm going to concentrate on automotive domain. Okay, so we'll be knowing like embedded is being implemented in almost all the fields without which automation is not possible. Okay, so today I'll be concentrating on the project that is being done through embedded in automotive domain. Automotive is nothing but our cars, bikes, and all the moving gadgets or things which we have in a real-time world. So okay, so today I'll be concentrating on the cars and what all things that is available in the recent trends, and we'll see some examples like how we'll develop a software. And I have divided this session into two parts. One is designing and another part is testing and how to automate the testing. Okay, three parts. EA will be like how you are going to design your embedded, And ITB is going to be like how you're going to test the design that you have done and how you're going to automate this testing environment with this testing framework. These are the things I'm going to cover today, and let's get into the agenda. Okay, so we are having some 5 agenda as I've listed you already. So projects that are there in automotive domain, and the model which we follow to develop our software development, and the EA tool usage to establish a design, and ITB tool usage to perform a testing, and need for testing framework. Okay, so this is going to be my agenda today for this webinar. And few examples I've listed here, and I would also like to list a few other real-time embedded things that is being implemented in the automotive domain. And can somebody tell me like what is all these applications which I'm displaying right now? And I can give you a clue. Everything is there in the car, which we see in a real time. I think this session can be interactive such that it can be more interesting and more realistic. Okay, then I'll pick somebody from the list to answer. Okay, nobody is interested to answer.
Students, kindly answer for the queries that has been asked. You can repeat the question also.
Yeah. Can somebody tell me what are these applications? I think I've given the clue here itself. How is it useful for us in the cars? Okay, then I'll explain.
For entertainment purpose.
Yeah, this one is the multimedia one, and this one is the radio part, where we can tune up the radio, we can connect our mobile phones with, and we can access our mobile phones through this display. And the another one is the heads-up display. So these are all the things which you can see in the most improved and the high-end cars. And this one, it's currently being implemented in Kia Motor cars as of now, and this is available only in Kia Motor cars in India as of now. So this is getting implemented in few other high-end cars also. So few other applications are like windshield wipers with a smart sensors, and the anti-locking braking systems, which is going to have a friction control to avoid accidents, and the adaptive cruise control, which is going to maintain the distance between the cars such that the accidents can be avoided, and fuel injection controlling devices like without even getting out of the cars, we'll be able to access our fuel lock, and we can even measure like how much fuel is getting into the fuel tank, and is it the amount which we requested to the person who is putting the fuel into our tank, and we can automatically lock things. So these are all few of the applications that we are having in our advanced cars as of now. And today I would like to give you a few informations like how you can develop your final year projects based on this automotive domains. So I think I can give you those glimpses at the end of this session. So I have a few project ideas that I can give you. So after covering all the agendas which I've mentioned, I'll get into the a few real-time things that you can implement in your final year projects. Okay, so the first thing which we need to develop embedded software or any kind of software is that we are having few steps to develop our software. So we are having a life cycle for it, and the first step of the life cycle would be the requirement analysis, and the next one will be the design, and next one will be the implementation, and next one will be testing, and next one will be the evolution, which is nothing but we are matching it with the requirement whatever we have got. Okay, so the requirement analysis means that you will be having certain requirements. For example, we can take our what to say a real time example. For example, as we are in the college, we can take our forum for our examination. Okay, so we'll keep some lessons for our IAT 1, which will be our requirement analysis. So we'll have unit 1, unit 2 for requirement, and we'll start taking, our professors will start taking the classes based on those 2 units, wherein you will be gaining knowledge about the design, and you will be implementing it by learning it, and you will be tested by keeping exams, and the evaluation will be like what the person has taken and how much you have achieved. So how much is the pass percentage of the class. Okay, so this is the this can be an example for development of a software also. Okay, so basically a software can be developed only with the requirement. What only if we know what we need to do, we'll be able to design. We can able to implement based on the design, and we can test, and we can justify like what we have tested is right based on the requirement. Okay, so these are all the steps that is going to be for a software development. This can be in embedded or anything, any form it can be. So this is the basic steps for a software development. And I think I'm sure the most of the engineers who is listening this webinar will be working on this process, any one of this process, in 2 or 3 years. Okay, so model, this is just a cycle, and we are going to look into few models which can make our process, this ring, more efficient and more informative and more effective and optimistic. So the first one is the waterfall model. This was the basic model. Here SDLC means that software development life cycle. Okay, so here SDLC means that as I've shown in the previous slide, you can see the first step will be getting the requirement and designing it, and we are developing it through a code, and we are testing it through a code, and we are deploying it. Okay, a deployment here means that is it actually working as per the requirement. Okay, the next one is the maintenance. We must be able to maintain the embedded software that we are developing until the last scope of the software that is being used by the backend users. Okay, so first one is the requirement, next one is the design and deployment. For example, there is a drawback in this model which what to say invented few other models, which made the scientists to develop a few other models which is much more effective and optimistic. Here, for example, if you say if you are getting a requirement to develop a pen example. Okay, so we are needing a pen which is going to be which is not going to be an ink pen, which is going to fill with refill, and we are going to have a light at the light or a camera at the cap of the pen. That is a requirement from a person who is giving us the project. Okay, so we are having the requirement, we are going to design a pen, and it is going to be filled with refill, and it's going to have a camera at the top of the pen cap. Okay, so we are starting it to design, and we are designing it, and we are using a sensor to make it for example, we are developing a pen. Whenever we are in a dark room or a dark place where you want to write, at that time the pen cap will automatically give you the light, such that you will be able to write or do things even at the lower light area. Okay, so if we are, while we are deploying, if we could see that our a camera which is or a light which is available at the cap is not working. Okay, so we are determining our fault here, and we need to find whether it is possible for us to change here itself. It's not possible, right? We need to go to the design, we need to check what's the fault there, or is it the real requirement we got from the customer, we need to check. So when something goes fault here, it's not possible to change it here itself. we need to go and change the design. We need to look into the requirements, and if it goes to testing, then it becomes a much more hectic for us to determine which place it is fault. Okay, so it's not possible to go back and change things. So it will be obviously a wrong deployment, which will be giving to the customer that your light is not working when it is dark. Okay, your sensor is not working. Okay, so this was a major drawback on this model, where we can't change things where we find the fault. Okay, so this made scientists to develop another model, which is a V model. Here also we'll have the same stuff: the requirement analysis, the system design, the architectural design, the module design, the coding, the unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. So this, you can see, this part of the V is going to be a development side, and this part of the V is going to be an testing side, and the coding part is going to connect these two V's. Okay, and one more important thing with this model is, while you're getting the requirement, you will be able to test. While getting your system design, you will be able to test. While getting the architectural design, you will be able to test. And while getting the module design, you will be able to test. And while coding, you will be able to test. So in whatever phase you're finding the fault, you will be able to test immediately, and you will be able to change at the previous phase itself. You don't want to go to the last phase of the development, and you don't want to change things. You don't want to go back things and change. It's getting changed parallelly. Okay, so our effort is also getting reduced, and the product which we have committed to deliver to the person who has requested is also getting optimized. Okay, so we can exactly deliver what product we committed to the customer directly at the acceptance testing phase. Okay, so in the requirement analysis, we will be analyzing the requirements, like whether it is possible for us to do, and what kind of sensors we'll be needing, what kind of microcontrollers we'll be needing, and based on that we'll be able to provide a system design. Okay, so here we need to have a clarity, like we are having two types of design here. System design is here and the module design is here. So both are design, and what makes a difference? So architectural design, we all may be knowing, in a microcontroller itself we'll be having a design where we'll be configuring our registers and our RAM ROM configurations, and that is going to be interfaced with our interfaces. For example, in this case, it's going to be a sensor. Okay, so system design will have the overall part. Okay, so your pen cap, your pen body, and your refill inside your pen, and your sensor at the cap. Okay, so we are defining the sensor here. Okay, so here we are going to have a microcontroller which is going to control the sensor, and based on the sensor's input, this controller is going to give input to the sensor, and based on that we'll be having our output. So that part we'll be designing here, and here comes the module design. Module design here means that the pen cap which is having the sensor is alone going to be a module, where you will be writing a code, or a small part. See, your pen is going to be a system, and your module is going to be the pen cap, which is going to have a sensor interface to your microcontroller. Okay, so we are going to write the code for the sensor. Okay, based on the input, I am going to give some input to the controller, and the controller is going to decide what kind of output I need to give. Okay, so this becomes a module design, and based on that we'll be writing a code. That is if case. If I'm getting this input from the sensor, kindly do this. Microcontroller, kindly do this. If I'm getting this input from the sensor, controller, please do this. Okay, if it's going to be light, or it's not going to be a dark area, my light doesn't want to glow. If glow at the pen cap. Okay, if it is going to be dark, then my microcontroller should act accordingly and give the signal to the light based on the input from the sensor. Okay, so that is being done in the unit testing. And the integration testing is that we'll be integrating the entire environment, our system and our software together, and we'll be able to see the output all together as a finished product. Okay, so we'll be integrating things and we'll be testing here, and finally the output, whatever requirement that we have got, can be tested all together and delivered to the person who had requested us this application. Okay, so this is the optimal thing that is being developed, that is being used in almost all the embedded companies as a common. This model is being implemented in almost all the automotive domains all over the world. Okay, so this model plays a major role. This model is being replaced by this model, and in order to make it more optimistic, this model was determined, which is called as an agile model. Agile is nothing but everything, the thing which is done here is done in a cyclic period. Okay, so we are having 2-3 requirements, and we are delivering first requirement at the first cycle, which will involve all the processes involved here. Okay, so first at the first cycle we will be able to deliver the basic requirement that is being requested, and in the second cycle we'll be able to deliver the much more 70% of the project, and the third level will be able to deliver the complete requirement. Okay, so one interesting thing about V model and agile is that if some change request comes, if at all your pen needs to be added with a camera or some GPS device, then it becomes a change request. Okay, so during, if the requirement changes, it gets difficult for us to go and change completely everything, and once it's getting delivered, it's not possible for us to change. Okay, the code is getting completed and it's not possible for us to change. We need to have a separate man hours, and we need to have a separate people to work on the change request, since there is going to be a much more change in the code. And in order to handle this, they invented this agile model where we'll be having iterative cycles. Okay, the first cycle will deliver the basic software requirement, and the second cycle will deliver the little more advanced form of the requirement, and at the third phase, if the change comes, it's possible for us to change the code. And we have not delivered the complete code, right? Code and the complete hardware part. Okay, so it's possible for us to change the hardware as well as our software, since we are delivering it in cycles. So it's possible for us to change things as soon as possible, and it will not take more time. So that is the biggest advantage of this agile model. So this is being implemented in almost all the companies as of now. Okay, so few companies are using V model and few companies are using agile model. And next topic which I wanted to cover is the enterprise architect, this is a tool which helps us to design certain things which we can see realistically, and this design will help also the tester to test exactly what requirement we are needing. Okay, so these are a few of the EA features where you will be able to analyze the requirement, or you can manage the requirements, what management we have got, and are we analyzing it correctly. Okay, so next one is going to be the business modeling and analysis. So here modeling means that we'll have system modeling, basically a system modeling. Okay, so whatever we see through our eyes, okay, is the system, and whatever is working inside, what we are seeing is the software. Okay, so be clear with the system and the software. Okay, so whatever we are seeing through our eyes becomes the system, and whatever is working inside to get whatever we want becomes a much more important for us. Okay, so only if we understand the system, we will be able to develop a software accordingly. Okay, so basically there can be two parts of engineers. One is the person who can design the hardware, and one is the person who can develop the software that is based on the embedded. Okay, so there can be two engineers in a company to develop a complete product. Okay, one is the person who is developing the hardware, that is the system engineer, and one is the person who is going to develop the software, and he is called as the software engineer. Okay, so here the EA helps us doing the modeling there, where you will be able to design the system part, and the simulation is nothing but the code which we do, and we flash it into the hardware, and we check whether it's giving us the exact output which we need. Okay, so system development is nothing but we'll be developing our hardware. Here it is going to be just a schematic part, and here we'll be able to develop a system based on the schematic simulation that we have done. Okay, schematic part which we have done here. So this enterprise architect helps us to integrate things virtually, or it can be done even in the real time. This tool helps us to do so many wonders, and this tool helps us to do testing also, testing management also, where we'll be able to link for which testing, for which software requirement, for which testing is done. So the tracking between the requirement and the testing, are we testing it correctly, can also be done properly. And the which visual execution analysis. Okay, so we will load things like, this is my requirement, this is my design, and this is going to be my test management. Okay, so and visually also we'll be able to see, are these things going in a flow, and are we getting the exact output, or which we really need. Okay, so next one is the data modeling. Data modeling is nothing but in our application we'll be having several parameters. Okay, we'll be changing only few parameters based on our application which we are choosing. Okay, for example, if we are using a room where we'll be able to monitor the temperature of the room. Okay, there your manipulating variable is going to be only temperature. Okay, we are not going to measure any other things. Okay, so this data modeling will help you, like which particular parameter you're going to monitor. Okay, so which is going to get manipulated, and which you're going to measure, and which you're going to give to the sensor. Okay, so we are going to make use of the data to model our requirements. Okay, so that is also possible in EA, and also it is possible to integrate EA to few other tools that is being used. This is an important part which will help almost all the engineers to get their work done easily. Okay, so this makes this particular part of the EA helps people to do things easily, which may consume more effort. Okay, so I have two examples for this architect, which two example designs that is being developed in enterprise architect, which is of one is based on the truly based on the software, and one is based on the real time thing, which we are which we would have seen in the real time routine life. Okay, so I'll be showing you two architect design. So I'll be asking you a question, which diagram is better than which, and if somebody could answer me, that will be better, and I can give you more inputs based on that. Okay, so this first design is nothing but, we'll be having several apps built in our mobile phone, and this is one of the example how our app is collecting information from us, and if somebody is monitoring us, and how this particular design is going to help that particular person who is monitoring us also. Okay, so first thing is the user, maybe I may be the person who is using it, and next is going to be the habit tracker app. Okay, so this is also an interface, and next one is going to be a data store, which is going to store all the information which is going to which is going to be added by me. Okay, so next is going to be the authentication service, which is going to bridge the security between the person who is giving his information and the person who is monitoring the information. Okay, so first one. Okay, so first what I'm trying to do is, okay, let me give some habitual information which is going to be recorded in my habit tracker. Okay, so I am adding some habit checking. Okay, I wanted to do some habit checking, so I am clicking on the habit checking. Okay, this particular interface is checking, okay, I have got some input from the person who is using this app. Okay, so is it from the authorized person who is receiving? So it will be checked by this interface, and it will check, okay, yes, I've got the comment. Okay, so now you will be getting a few other pop-ups where you will be commenting on what input you want to give. Okay, I want to give my habitual. For example, I have improved my habit by drinking few liters of water every day. Okay, so I am giving my content like I am drinking 2 liters of water every day. Okay, so this is going to be the input to this interface now. Similarly, I'm adding new checks every week. Okay, so Now the data is getting stored into the data store. Okay, why we need to store it into a data store is that it's not possible for the person who is monitoring to directly get into the interface and get all the information. Okay, it will have several code running inside, and it's not that easy to get for the person to it's easy for the person to get things immediately. Okay, it's also called as a buffer or a volatile memory, which will have the data stored temporarily for few days or weeks, which with which the person who is monitoring can get the data. Okay, so this data store will act as a buffer and will hold the data that is being provided by the habit tracker. Okay, interface, user interface. Okay, then this interface will provide the information like I have stored the data. Okay, then this person need to check in, provide his password, and he can access the information either directly from here or from the buffer store. Okay, so he has, if he wanted to get the information for few weeks or few months, then he can go to the data store and he can get the information. Okay, if he wants to get the information simultaneously while he is entering or the day by day tracking, then he can directly contact to the user interface and he can push up all the information from the interface, and he can hold the look into the data of the person, and he can give the information to the person who is wanting the guidance from the person who is wanting to give the few good habits that can be followed by the person who is using this app. Okay, so based on the information from the coach, this information is sent to the person having who is in need of good habits that he has to follow, or he need to improve his habits. Okay, this is one of the example, and this kinds of design is possible in EA, where you can explicitly give all the information of a particular app or a code or an interface, a specific interface between a microcontroller and a real-time sensor. And I'll get into the next example. Okay, this is one of the example which we all will be seeing in the almost all the airports, and a few other places where we'll be scanning things what we take, or in few other places where they scan us, like whether we are having a metal thing or are we having some thing which is which would cause danger for the people who is around us. Okay, this is one of the example which is based on the microcontroller. And first of all, this example is based on the scanning of the container. Okay, we are going to send a container into the conveyor belt, and this is going to be checked by the detector, and it is going to be moved to the scanner, and the controller is going to give inputs based on that. Okay, so we are going to control each and every container that is getting into the cargos. Okay, this is basically cargos. Either it can be a ship or it can be a flight. Okay, that is carrying the cargos. Okay, so first thing is that the container is arriving. Okay, next is that it's going through the belt, and this is the interface or the motor. Next it is getting into the detector, and next it is getting into the scanner, and then the information is reaching to the controller. Controller is giving information back, and based on the controller's information, this particular interfaces is reacting. See, this is one interface, this is one interface, this is one interface, and this is one interface, and this is one interface. This is connected to the controller. Okay, so controller is connected with detector interface, scanner interface, and the conveyor belt. Okay, so first of all, a container is getting in, it is being detected, and it is, once it is detected, the information is given to the controller. Okay, so the controller is giving information to the belt. Okay, there is a container in, please move the container. Okay, so now the conveyor belt will move the container. Okay, so in 50 milliseconds we'll have the information here, and after getting that information, the container will be moving. Okay, now we'll have the information from the controller to scan after 100 milliseconds. Okay, So in between that 100 milliseconds, the container will be moving here and the scanner will scan the information and it will be giving it to the controller. Okay. Once the full scan of the container is done, we'll have information from the controller to stop the motor. Okay. Motor is nothing but the stepper motor will be having at the bottom of the conveyor belt and which will stop the container after the scan is done. Okay. At last, we'll be having a new frame of information that this frame of information is what is being scanned and this frame of information will have the complete image of the scanned container. Okay. Then we'll stop scanning since the container is completely scanned and we'll remove the container from the conveyor belt and move. So the next container will be getting into it. We'll be moving the stepper motor under with the help of the controller and we'll be scanning it and we'll be sending images to the controller and we'll be checking like what is inside the container and we'll be reacting based on what is inside. If there is some metal thing that is being loaded inside the container, then that particular container can be moved and it cannot be loaded into the cargo. This is the thing which we are following in the cargo loading part. And the full cycle is it is taking only 2 seconds to scan one container. So in a minute we'll be able to scan 30 containers. Okay, so can somebody tell me what is the difference between these two? What makes more sense between these two designs? Guys, be fast. I can tell you more inputs.
Certain things are in serial operations, certain things are on parallel operations, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the communication is in horizontal form, and what are all the interfaces and we are having is in the vertical form. Here also the same thing. One thing is, if this design can be tested, and is it possible for us to validate the exact thing which we actually require is lagging in this design, and we will be able to test perfectly in this design because we are having the exact timing. So in what time it has to arrive and in what time the controller has to react. So this is we can actually assure the software whether it is scanning 30 containers into 30 containers in 1 minute. It is possible to assure in this design, but it is not possible in this design because we are not having the exact timing. Okay, so since we don't have the exact timing, it's not possible for us to until how much time can we wait this data will come or not, we don't know. If at all there is failure in this user interface, this particular person will not get any information. Okay, this particular information will be sent that I have not received any frame, but until when we can wait, that is not possible here. Okay, so this is a drawback in a design. Okay, so one information I wanted to share based on this design is that whenever we design anything in embedded or anything which we want to implement in real time, there must be a timing information involved in it for each and every interface. Only then it's possible for us to exactly implement what we need, and we will be able to optimize our design based on that. Okay, we'll be able to achieve more targets based on that. Okay, so that's why we have timing diagrams in our papers, digital communication and digital signal processing and a few other communication papers, and that makes sense here if we have knowledge in those papers. Okay, next one is the InBus Test Bench software. So InBus Test Bench software is basically we have designed a design here, and we are going to test the same operation is getting implemented if we integrate our design and code together. Okay, so if I test, okay, if I take, for example, I've told you an example before, like I'll be having a pen which is going to have a sensor at the top of it, and based on the darkness or the light that is being measured, or the camera which I wanted to on, so we'll be having the information from the external source, and the sensor will be sensing it, and it will be giving the information to the microcontroller. Okay, so controller will react based on that, and our interfacing device, that is our light or camera, will get switched on based on the input from the sensor. Okay, this is basic form of an embedded system or embedded design. Okay, so how we will be able to test this? Okay, what amount of light if I get, my sensor will sense, and what amount of light if I don't get, my sensor will sense. That has to be defined. Okay, so I have typed, my design will have, if light is there, switch. If light is there, you don't need to switch on the light at the head of my pen cap. If light is not there, then please switch on the light. This is how the design is going to be, and I'll have the same thing in my code also. If when my sensor input is so and so value, please generate this as an output. When my sensor input is so and so value, please generate so and so input. Only this much will be available in the code. Okay, the range of values will be developed by the testing team, and that will be based on the sensor's capacity. Okay, sensor will have the capacity, like it will be able to measure only this range. Okay, they will test from right from the beginning of the range to the end of the range, such that we'll be able to get the accurate output that could be possible in each and every real-time application that we develop. Okay, so testing is very, very important for us to establish whatever we have designed and whatever we have coded. Okay, so in-bus test bench software is one of the most important software that can help us put design together, code together, and also a requirement together, and check if everything is working together fine, and we'll be able to even justify, like whatever requirement that is being committed is delivered. Okay, so here it is, like software for embedded system must use hardware resources efficiently, be high performance and safety. Okay, so safety can also be checked using the in-bus test bench, and the in-bus supports you throughout the entire development cycle to achieve all the quality objectives. Okay, so it can be a code analysis, it can be a unit test, or with automated solutions for system testing and performance testings that are precisely tailored. Okay, precisely here means that, as I've already told you, for a sensor we'll be having a range of value. Okay, so that is being that can also be precisely tailored in bus test bench. Okay, so accurate measurement of a system design or a software design is possible in bus test bench. Okay, so what all things that is possible in bus test benches, we'll be able to plan the test cases, we'll be able to design the test cases, we can automate the test cases, we can implement and execute evaluation, and the report, whatever we have tested, is it giving a correct report. Evaluation criteria can be defined, and post-testing activities like collecting all the reports and validating our software is also possible in bus test bench tool. Okay, here I'm having an example, like we can test a small part of the software. Okay, this is an automotive, just a glimpse of the software, where we'll be having the vehicle. Okay, we are having the vehicle list here, and we are having the add-ons, and we are having the special model and the price of the car. Okay, so now we are going to purchase a car, and we are defining few criteria for the car here. Okay, so we are having we would be knowing, like we will be having few car companies, like for example Honda has different variants like Jazz, for example City, Amaze, and different variants. Okay, so you can imagine, like this is a part of the Indian available car. Okay, this is i5, this is Mini Golf, and Recent family, Rollo, or these are all the companies or car types which is available in Germany. and that is being listed here along with its vehicle information. That is the base end car, in which you don't need any add-ons. Okay, add-ons here means that anti-skid system, heatable outside mirror, and heatable outside mirror is that why they are having that application is that you know that Europe side the climate will be very cold sometimes, and we'll be having a snowfall once in a year, and wherein if we have a self-heatable mirror over there, it's easy for us to clean the windshield of the car. So that is an add-on here. And the power windows in back. Okay, so power windows in the back and mats, and these are all the add-ons in our car. Okay, so this is the base end of the cars. And here comes the special model. Model is nothing but Honda is a company, and Honda will have several variants, right? As I have listed you already, City, next Jazz, and Amaze, and Mobilio. So all these stuff will be the variants of the Honda. Okay, so similarly here the Mini Golf is a car brand, and it is having a model Jazz. Okay, so include add-ons. Okay, here we are having a parameter like include add-ons. Add-ons here means that mat is included, the radio with the CD is included, and the alloy wheels are included. Including these add-ons, this particular car is having this particular rate. Okay, fixed price. Okay, if these variants are included, then the price of the car should not change. Okay, the base end will be added with the special model. If you are choosing the add-ons which is included in this list, for example, if I'm choosing mat, radio with CD, and anti-skid system, if I'm choosing these three add-ons, my price of my car should be the same. Okay, because this is included in the special model and the rate is fixed based on that. Okay, so if you could see here, 15,000 euros is the cost of the car, base end car, and the Jazz variant is costing 1,049 euros along with these three add-ons. Okay, if you can choose any of these three add-ons, which will be free of cost for this particular car model. Okay, so the cost becomes 70,039 euros. Okay, so if I'm choosing few other variants like add-ons like power window on back and heatable outside mirror, if I'm choosing these variants, then my cost is going to vary. Okay, now we are going to test this environment. Is it working fine? Okay, so thing is that we are going to have so many parameters. One is vehicle, one is the add-on 1, add-on 2, add-on 3, add-on 4, add-on 5, and add-on 6, and add-on 7. And we are going to define another parameter which will be having a special model, which will be listing the special model Jazz, or special model things which will be listing in the special model parameter, and the price of the car. Okay, so the next one is step 2. Step 2 is that we are going to write the overview of the testing. Okay, that environment has been brought here. Okay, this is the tool, InBus Test Bench tool, where we have brought the environment which I have shown you before. Okay, this car configurator is defined here, where you can see the i5, Mini Golf, Ryzen family, Rollo, everything. Okay, this is our point of reference with which we are going to develop our test case. Okay, so special model with add-ons. This part is going to be the test theme, and here we'll be adding the test cases. How we are going to test? Okay, what all inputs we'll be giving to test the car configurator environment. Okay, this is our basic configuration overview, which I have explained you already. We have just brought it into the tool just for the reference. And the next step is that we are going to add a sequence for testing. Okay, so first what we are going to do, start the car configurator. Okay, set the initial conditions. What all will be needing? Initial condition is that what vehicle we are choosing and for what is the basic value of the car. And next is the special model. Okay, what is the special model value, and what is the add-on, and add-on special increase in rate based on the add-ons, and what is the final price. Okay, these are all the initial settings we will be needing. So first we are going to set up the car configurator, and then we'll be able to select the vehicle. Okay, what vehicle? Mini Golf is the brand we are choosing, and we are choosing the special model Jazz, and we are adding an add-on like anti-skid system. I need an anti-skid system in my car, and my final value is going to be this. Okay, so now the another add-on is selected, radio with CD, and the final price is also the same. Why? Because we have already defined like if any of this add-on is getting added up, for example mat, radio with CD or alloy wheel, we are going to have the same rate. Okay, this is one of the test sequence. Okay, like this we'll be having several test sequences. Okay, this thing is for Mini Golf, and the variant we are having the Jazz. Okay, so similarly the test sequence can be done for all the model or the vehicle which we are having in our showroom. Okay, so that is possible to list here. Okay, so next step is that we have developed a sequence here. Before we had an overview, now we have developed a test sequence with how we are going to test our sequence. What all step one after the other. This is nothing but an algorithm, like how our test case is going to be executed. Next one is that we are going to define a keyword. Okay, select the vehicle Mini Golf. Okay, so first one is that we are giving a keyword, select my vehicle. Next one is the select the special model. Okay, select an add-on. What is the price? Check the final price. Okay, next select the add-on radio with CD. Okay, these are all going to be my test sequences which I will be adding it into my price calculation or this particular test theme. Okay, these are all my test cases. I'll be adding it into my test theme. Okay, so here I have defined a test theme where we'll be having our keyword defined. Okay, so my vehicle model, and it's going to be my model which special model which I'm choosing for my company which I have selected, and it's going to have the add-on system which I wanted in my car, and its final price that is being calculated. Next, I'm adding a data-driven testing. Okay, data-driven testing, only if we define data-driven testing, it is possible for us to give us few inputs for the parameters, and we will be able to test whether it is working fine. Okay, so here data-driven testing theme, I am adding a data-driven testing theme where I will be able to input my data to test my developed test case. Okay, test sequence, or it can be a test sequence. Here I am defining this is the sequence which you have seen already, and we are defining a parameter here. Okay, so select the vehicle Mini Golf. Okay, Mini Golf is a parameter vehicle. Okay, so model Jazz is a special model. Similarly, it is going to be add-on, and next one is going to be the final price, and next one is going to be the add-on, and next one it is going to be the final price. Okay, similarly we are defining the parameters here, and whatever data type or the parameter which I am defining here, you can see it here also, that is getting displayed here. Okay, so this is an important part of this tool which will help us to define our data type that is that can be an input for our microcontroller, and we can test. Okay, so definition of our data parameters can also be tracked here. As I have told already, so each and every sequence is defined with a parameter here, and all the parameters are listed here, and we can see the data type also, what kind of data type it is. Is it a value, or it is going to be you could have learned already what are the data types. It can be an int value, it can be a double value, or what kind of it is going to be a text. Everything can be defined here, and based on this data definition, the input which we are giving to this tool will be validated. Okay, are we giving the correct input? Based on that, it will test the test cases. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to be my now I'm going to test the create test cases, which is nothing but I'm going to give the data. Okay, now I have defined the parameters. Vehicle name is the parameter, and the special model is the parameter, add-on is a parameter, and add-on 2 is the parameter, and the final price is a parameter. Now I am giving inputs for this. Mini Golf is my company which I am choosing to buy, and the next one is also Mini Golf, and next one is the i5 variant, and next one is the Raisin family. Okay, so next one is the special model which I will be choosing, and the add-on system. Okay, so these are all going to be my inputs to test my sequences. Okay, so next we are going to map this test cases or the test input with the requirements. Okay, so next we are going to use the requirement mapping. Here we are having a configurator, car configurator, that is being defined, which will have the basic values of our base end and our add-on, and also the special add-ons that will cost us much. Okay, so here we are testing their test cases. Okay, here you can see the window which is going to with which we are going to test the test cases, and here it is going to be a test tree. Okay, so for first one is the test case 1, where we are going to validate only for Mini Golf with a single variant or a single special model called Jazz. Okay, now we have developed special test cases, right, for each and every variant. So for example, I can say this is one test case, this is one test case, this is one test case, and this is one test case. Okay, so here we are executing all the test cases. This is test case 1, this is test case 2, this is test case 3, and next one is going to be a test case 4. Okay, so while if you press this for example, this is the run button of this tool. If you press this, it will run the test cases if every input is available. Okay, here you can see in the test case, check final value is missing, or this particular test case is not executable. Why? Because here we have not inputted our basic variant. Only if we input this basic variant, we will be able to calculate our basic variant along with our special model, along with our add-on. Okay, so this basic variant information is missing, so it's not possible for us to calculate the final value of the car. Okay, so this particular test case is failing here. Okay, so along with this tool, we'll be able to find and identify where our software is lagging. Okay, in which part of the software or in which part of the pin our microcontroller becomes unjudgeable. Okay, it is not possible for us to test here because we are not having the base value. Okay, only if we configure our base value in the tool, it will be able to compare and it will be able to give the inputs. Okay, so here this tool can help us to find which particular part of the test case is failing or which input is lagging in our code. Okay, so here the input of the car, the value of the car is base end value is missing, so it's not possible to test, and it is not testing. Okay, so immediately we can correct this. After correcting, adding the input value base value, the other test cases will be executed. It will stop where it is not having the input, and it will wait until the input if we provide. Okay, so after that only the other test cases will be executed. This is an important part of this tool where we can identify which part of the software, embedded software, is failing in which particular pin. Okay. Okay, so this is all about the ITB tool and the testing framework. Okay, so testing framework is important thing which will help this in-bus test bench to work more efficiently. Utilizing a framework for automated testing. Okay, so automated testing, this becomes automated only if we input these values, right? We are building only test cases, but internally test case is checking what is the base end value, what is the special model value, is the add-on costing for that particular model. Everything is done in the background. How is it done? It is based on this framework. Okay, so before we develop our test cases, it is important to configure our framework. Framework will have all the base end inputs, which will be the back-end information for your test cases to work. Okay, so framework is very important for a tester, for an embedded tester, to identify what input is basically needed to test things. Okay, so testing framework is very important why I'm taking this after testing is this particular testing framework will help you to automate things. Okay, you don't have to manually input data, and you need to check. Okay, so this framework can help you fetch data at the background, and it can internally verify things, and it can give you the output. Okay, so this gives you an improved test efficiency, lower maintenance cost, minimal manual intervention, as I've told you already. Okay, it can be automated. Any testing that can be automated, it is possible only through the framework. Okay, so maximum test coverage and reusability of the code is also possible with the framework. Okay, so I'm ending this session with few other frameworks that would help us to test our software more efficiently. Thing is that the linear automation framework. Okay, so the linear automation framework here means that we will be able to record and playback things. Okay, we'll develop our test cases, and we don't want to continuously write the code. Once it is done, it can be automatically repeated when and when required. Okay, based on our application. Okay, it's going to be linear. We are not going to change anything. Okay, and the next one is the modular based testing framework. Here we'll be dividing our application. Okay, so here it is like, for example, we can take our conveyor belt which we saw before. Okay, here we can divide our testing framework into two parts. One is until the stepper motor, which is controlled by the microcontroller to move the container, and another part is going to be the detector and the sensor, which is communicating with the microcontroller. Okay, so we can develop two testing framework where the microcontroller operation can be checked with conveyor stepper motor alone, and another part of the interfacing with the microcontroller with the detector and the scanner. Okay, so we can divide our project or application into few modules. Okay, that's why it's called as a modular based testing. Okay, we can divide it into few modules, and we can test it easily. Okay, this will help us testing in isolation. For example, if your microcontroller fails, okay, it's not responding. Okay, the microcontroller communication only with your stepper motor has been failed. In that case, we will be able to identify the failure is only between the microcontroller and the stepper motor, and we'll be continuously receiving information from the scanner and the detector to the microcontroller. Okay, so if that is getting failed, we will be able to isolate the failure in our embedded system. Okay, so if modular based testing framework is established in our embedded software development, it's possible for us to sort out the issues very easily. Okay, which part of the interface is getting failed, that can be easily identified using a modular based testing framework. And another one is a data driven framework. Okay, data driven framework is going to be like, we'll be giving few inputs. Okay, based on the application we are doing. Okay, data driven, the input, the testing will be completely based on the data we are giving. Okay, it's not going to judge any functionality of the embedded system, or it is not going to completely check the application. It's completely going to be data driven. If I give this input to the tester or test case, this should be the reaction. Okay, when this framework will help you is the person who is not much familiar with the code. He is a basic tester, means he will not be able to develop advanced code. Okay, so in that case, it will be like a black box. We'll give an input and we'll give an output. The person who is testing will check, okay, I'm giving this input, is the particular system or embedded system giving me the output that is expected. Okay, this type of framework will be very helpful for the people who is going to be at the very basic phase of embedded testing. Okay, so keyword driven framework is that once we define few applications with a keyword and we are putting it into our test case, The same keyword can be used in any application that is being integrated together. Okay, one application, for example, an ADC application can be integrated with an interface which is having a few other sensors connected. For example, a temperature sensor, a fuel sensor. Okay, so if we are going to integrate a few other things into a same microcontroller application, we can have a keyword driven testing framework where we can define the application based on the keyword, and the same keyword can be used throughout the testing during our testing purpose. Okay, test case development purpose, which will be helpful for us every time. We don't need to define our test case based on our application. Okay, this is already defined, and this particular sensor is going to react in the same way, so I can use the same keyword in my code to test. Okay, this is going to be like predefined, and this reduces our work actually. This is hybrid testing. Next one is the hybrid testing. Hybrid testing is like we can put several hybrid name itself. With the name itself, you can judge like what is going to be the framework. The framework, this framework helps us to put keyword driven, data driven, and modular based testing, all these things together based on our application. Okay, if it is going to be very big embedded system, it is going to have several microcontrollers involved and several interfaces involved in it, then this becomes then that particular framework will obviously become a hybrid testing. Okay, so based on each and every, if the embedded system is going to be very big, then obviously we need to divide it into several modules to test things and get things together. Okay, so there comes the modular testing in it, and it's obviously going to be the data driven, because we are going to give inputs for the sensor and we are going to test whether it is reacting in the same way as expected. Okay, so if your embedded system is going to be very big with so many microcontrollers, then we are going to have several frameworks that we are going to put together to make our testing much more efficient to get the real-time expected output. Okay, so I think I'm done with the session. Basically, I want to give you inputs for the growing engineers to choose your career. Okay, I think this part of the session is going to be much more important for you because I thought I can give you some project ideas, and also I can tell you like what all microcontrollers you can be aware of before getting into an embedded company. Okay, if you're going to try for an embedded company, then the ideas which I'm going to give to you right now will be very, very useful. Okay, so please listen to me for next 1 minute. And I think the controllers which you will be learning before will be like 8051, and few people will be learning PIC. Okay, PIC microcontrollers you will be learning in your subjects. Okay, these are all used in the companies, but the capacity of the processing capacity of the microcontroller is not up to the mark actually. Okay, that's why they have developed a few other microcontrollers. Guys, one important thing I can tell you, if you're learning a microcontroller, kindly understand the registers inside it, and kindly know how to program a particular pin in the microcontroller, and this will help you a lot during your interviews. This will be the important question that would be posted by each and every engineer in an embedded company to recruit you into the company. So kindly understand what is inside the microcontroller, what are all the modules of the microcontroller. This will be available in your microcontroller subject itself. Understand the basic modules inside it, and whatever microcontroller I'm telling you, you can just note it down, you can just learn it through online, and you can gain knowledge like what all can be interfaced with these microcontrollers, and this will help you like wonder to get into an embedded company. Okay, so important I can list you few important microcontrollers. One is Renesas microcontroller, RHENESS, and another one is the Infineon Tricore microcontroller, and another one is the Atmel AVR, and another one is the important protocol that you must know to get into an embedded company is CAN. that is based on automotive. Okay, controller area network. It's called as controller area network. Kindly learn this protocol because this is going to establish all the communication between your microcontroller and the interface. Okay, since it's going to be automobile, in almost all the automobile industry, they are using Renesas. Okay, Renesas is the microcontroller they are using, and then the microcontroller communicates only through the CAN module. This microcontroller is controlled completely through the CAN module, which is going to have the CAN protocol. Okay, please make sure you have an idea about the CAN protocol. Okay. And then regarding the project, which I can tell you, like for the final year, future final year students, I can tell like you can work on the windshield, automatic windshield wipers. Okay, so the project idea is like you can have a sensor at the back of your mirror that you will be having in front of your cars. Okay, so you can have an IR sensor at the back of your mirror, and that will be having what to say, what an IR sensor will do. Can I have some answers?
Students kindly answer infrared rays sensors, what they will do.
Ma'am, it will transmit and receive the infrared signal, ma'am. Like transmission between the remote control and the electronic gadgets, like TV remote control.
Okay, what kind of sensor it is?
Photo LED and optical LED and optical diode.
Yeah, exactly. It's an optical one, right? Okay,
yes,
so that particular sensor will sense the light. Okay, since an optical sensor, it will sense the light. Okay, so that particular sensor will be sensing on the light on the windshield. Okay, in front of your car. Okay, so it will check the intensity of the light that is falling on your windshield. Okay, so this sensor will sense and will give you input like whether the wiper wiper is needed or not. Okay, if it is going to which means that this particular infrared sensor is going to judge you it's going to rain or not. Okay, obviously if it's going to rain you need a wiper working, right? This infrared sensor will check the windshield light that is falling on the windshield. Okay, it will check the intensity and will give you the information like whether the wiper is needed or not. The screen need to be wiped if the windshield is not clear, right? This infrared signal will infrared sensor will give you the information to the microcontroller. Okay, this microcontroller will give the information to the windshield, which will be having a motor to automatically switch your windshield based on your climatic condition. Okay, you don't want to manually go and switch on the button of your windshield when the climate is not good. Okay, this can automatically work based on this simple infrared sensor, which is going to give the intensity of the light that is falling on your windshield, and your microcontroller is going to respond based on that. Okay, and the wiper will automatically wipe based on the information from your IR sensor to the microcontroller. Okay, this is one of the simple project, and another one is the adaptive cruise control. Adaptive cruise control is nothing but you will be moving on a road, right? You'll be moving on a road, and you'll be having a vehicle which is in front of you, and you'll be having a vehicle at the back of you, right? You need to protect your car or a vehicle from an accident. Okay, so your movement of the car must be checked all the time. Okay, so here we'll be using a frequency sensor, which is also called as a microwave sensor, which will be placed at the front of your car. Okay, front of your car, and it will measure the distance. Okay, measure the distance between your vehicle and the other vehicle. Okay, it will project a frequency and it will receive the frequency. Based on the receiving frequency intensity, it will judge like in what distance your vehicle and your vehicle which is at your front is at. Okay, and also it measures the speed of the vehicle. Okay, so such that you will be able to adjust your vehicle position or the speed of your vehicle based on the information from your microwave sensor, okay, to your microcontroller. So if you're connecting your microcontroller directly to a speedometer, based on the decisions or the information which we are getting from your sensor, microwave sensor, automatically the accelerometer will reduce its speed, since your distance between the the vehicle that is up front and to you is very small. Okay, there is a prone to accident, right? So this can be automatically reduced. You don't have to do it. This can be automated actually. So this is one of the project I can tell you. And one more thing is you can measure the speed, fuel capacity, and your braking capacity, and you can measure the vacuum in your wheel, and is your tire puncture or anything, what's wrong in your car, which is not making your car to move forward, or which is not fine with your car, can be identified and it can be displayed on your windshield also. This is also a project where we can have a rotating mirror on your microcontroller, which can display you all these informations on your windshield itself. Okay, what project which I'm telling you right now is the first one which I've showed you. Here it is. You will have the map also displayed if you're going to add your GPS system into it. Okay, if you're going to involve the gyroscope sensor and GPS PCBs into your microcontroller, if you're going to interface these two things to your microcontroller, then we are going to have the maps on our heads-up display. Okay, this is also a project. If you could do a GPS, or at least a speed that is getting displayed, or at least the fuel limit in your car, then that becomes a wonder project by you. Okay, this is what is the thing. Currently the embedded automotive embedded team is working on to develop this heads-up display. Here in India, in Kia Motors, we are having a small mirror in front of your driving wheel, where you can see all the information of your car. Okay, if you could do this on your windshield here, then that is a wonder project actually. If you could try, you can try. Okay, any questions?
Thank you for your wonderful session, ma'am. This will be very, very useful for our future. We are delighted to learn more on this topic, ma'am. We would like to work on the project based on embedded system, as you told about the developing, designing, about the coding, microcontroller, everything, ma'am. We will take your points, we'll work on it, we will become most powerful future engineers, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now let's have the question and answer session. Our friend Fatima will take over this session. Over to you.
Thank you, Dimple. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your knowledge with us. Ma'am, there are multiple questions in our chat box. We have selected some interesting questions due to our time limit. The first question is, in embedded system, is there any project available for agricultures?
Yeah, there are several projects available in agriculture. It's embedded projects are purely based on the sensors you choose. Okay, in agriculture, basically they are using sensors which can measure the soil capacity, what kind of crops can be planted, and what kind of crop is feasible for that particular soil. All these things is feasible through a sensor. Okay, so this is currently being this is one of the advanced technology. Before we start cultivating few things in a farm, we need to know the soil capacity, right? What all crops is it possible to grow there, and what is the nature of the soil, and all these steps can be done through a microcontroller kit, which will involve the soil capacity monitoring sensors interface to it, and this is one of the application in agriculture.
Thank you, ma'am, for your answer.
Humidity, water content of the soil, everything can be measured.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And the next question is, why Agile is preferred over waterfall model?
Yeah, as I've told you already, waterfall is like, from the name itself, you could see, once the water falls off, we can't do anything. Can we move the water which is fallen down? Can we take it up? It's not possible. Okay. So if we are developing a project, we have got the requirement, we are developing it. When we are delivering it wrongly, we are identifying our fault only at the middle of our process. Okay. Design, if we are finding it during our coding phase, or if we are finding it during our design phase, then it's not, then it becomes difficult for us to go back and change. If it is in coding phase, then it's difficult to go back and change our design. First of all, the model itself shows like we can't go back. Okay, so the flow is going to be like you're going to develop, design, code, test, and deliver. That's all. It is going to be, if there is going to be any mistake, it's not possible to change in between. Okay, whereas in Agile, it is possible for us to change. Okay, because we are not delivering the complete set of application. We are dividing it into few modules and we are delivering it. Okay, if we are facing failure in the module which we have delivered first, it's possible for us to correct in the second delivery, right? So waterfall has biggest disadvantage and Agile makes a wonder there.
Thank you, ma'am. And our next question is, what we can do with the test bench and where do we use?
Yeah, test bench, the name itself shows that you can test things. For example, you'll design few applications and you need to test whether that particular design is working as per the specification, right? For that, we need to give inputs and test. Only then we'll be able to judge the functionality of the design. Okay. For example, what to say? For example, you are filling your application forms, right? For any, if you're enrolling for any exam, you are filling out your application form. Okay. There are few fields where you can input only text information. There are few fields where you can input only numbers, where you can attach only images. Okay, can you just put things like where you want to put text? Is it possible to put image there? It is not accepting, right? It's telling no, this is not the expected format, please change it, please input the appropriate format. Okay, if the software is not tested, this information is not possible, right? Whatever information we are giving, that will be inputted into your application, which will be completely irrelevant for the field. Okay, if we don't test our design, we will not be able to judge or identify what makes the fault in the design. Okay, so in order to judge our design, test bench is very important. So in order to test bench tool is very important, where we can develop the test cases. We can give several different types of input. Okay, we'll be able to give different types of input, and that input, based on that input, we will be able to list out several drawbacks of the design that we have done, and that drawback can be the pop-up information when you are inputting certain informations in your application form. Okay, so only if we test, we will be able to identify what is the fault. Okay, this can be done using the inverse test bench tool.
Thank you, ma'am. And our next question is, how long do windshield wipers motor last for?
Okay, that is based on your basically hardware or a software can be tested by using a test process. It's called as a stress test. Okay, it's called as a stress test. Okay, stress test here means that we'll be able to check like how many times that particular motor can run more efficiently. and how many times that particular motor can receive and send inputs. Okay, number of times that particular cycle will be test case will be run by the testing team in order to check the durability of the motor. Okay, so your question was like, what would be the lifetime of the motor you are using? Okay, it completely depends on what kind of what quality of motor you are using. Okay, definitely there will be a fault uh, where there can be or where the car is being used for so many years. Okay, definitely an electronic gadget will face failure after a few years, but when we are integrating our several interfaces together, if we are choosing our quality motor to interface, then it's possible for us to last for a few years of our usage of our car.
Thank you, ma'am. And our next question, can we do automation testing without framework?
No, it's not possible actually. Without framework, it's not possible to automate actually. Okay, as I've told you, if something gets automated, we need embedded. Okay, we need a microcontroller to make it automatic. Okay, without microcontroller, it's not possible to make anything in this world to get automated. Okay, only the microcontroller cannot work on this. Okay, we need a background software which is going to give informations to this and which is going to judge informations that we are giving to the microcontroller, and that's how we'll be able to develop a quality embedded system. Okay, so only if it is automated, it can be a quality one. If you're going to do it manually, there is a chances of errors occurring where your input can be wrong, and for example, if you are having 1,000 number of entries to test at the background, okay, which is matching with the input we are giving. Okay, we are giving one input and it should be one of the input in the 1,000 entries. Is it possible to give 1,000 entries for us manually? No, it's not possible. No. So at the back end, we can have an Excel. We can put all those 1,000 entries, which can be one of your input during the testing, and we can give it to the Inbus test bench tool. Okay, that Excel you are creating, right? That is going to be your framework, which is going to have all the inputs which you are going to use for the testing. Okay, so I think this will make you clear. We cannot make an testing automatic without the framework.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your all your answers. Thank you for your answers, ma'am. It is very knowledgeable for us. Still, we have some more questions, but due to running out of time, we will mail you all the questions, ma'am. Students, please don't worry. All your questions will be answered soon. Thank you so much, ma'am. Over to you, Dimple.
Thank you, Afrin. Thanking a person for their work done for us is the greatest compliment we can ever give. Vote of thanks by Abhinaya. Over to you.
Thank you, Dimple. Good afternoon, everyone. As all good things come to end in life, so is this webinar. Respected and most distinguished chief guest and respected principal, our beloved HOD, our honorable professors, and my dear friends, I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose hearty vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this webinar on design and development of embedded software using EAITB framework, organized by our department. Let me, first of all, giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's webinar a resounding success. First of all, I would like to thank our chief guest and resource person, Ms. Revati. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Thank you, ma'am, for your very interesting and thought-provoking address. We are very glad to learn some new knowledgeable things from you. Especially in question and answer session, it is very informative and knowledgeable to our students. And I would like to thank our respected principal, Dr. Sujata Anand. Thank you, ma'am, for giving us this opportunity to bring out our talent. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our beloved HOD, Dr. Nalini Joseph, for words of encouragement and her support and guidance. My heartfelt thanks to all the faculty members and student coordinators for their involvement and willingness who made this webinar a grand success. And I extend my special thanks to Ms. Jasmine, Mr. Mahadevan, Mr. Mahendran for their effort in bringing our resource person for the webinar. I heartily congratulate all the participants for their active participation in this event. No program can become successful with a single person. With an inspiring quote by Martin Luther, an individual not started living until he rises above the confines of his individualistic concern to the broader concerns of all humanity. So, I extend my big thank to our department, and I thank all the participants who showed up their interest for the webinar with utmost curiosity. Once again, thank you everyone who are gathered here and made this event a successful one. Thank you. Over to you, Dimple.
Thank you, Abhinaya. Unity is strength. When there is teamwork and collaborations, wonderful things can be achieved. My hearty thanks to everyone for the great success of this event. There are some upcoming webinars. Wireless communication is on 17th May. Public key infrastructure is on 18th May. Application and boundaries condition for electromagnetic field is on 19th May. I hope you all join for those webinars. Dear participants, the feedback link will be posted in the chat box. Do fill it. Dear participants, the feedback link has been posted in the chat box. Do fill it. Once you filled it, you will receive your certificate within 2 to 3 days.
Okay. So very good technical seminar, highly very clarity with the communication and technicality. She has developed a very interesting seminar, and you people have taken embedded subject as easy, right? So now you know what are the things that is needed for as a student to know. Okay, so develop that such things. If you do have any queries, if you have any doubts, feel free to contact her so that she can able to help you and guide you. Okay, so really I appreciate and thankful to Miss Revati for the wonderful seminar she has given. We are so proud of you, Revati. It is very good, and I hope all the students will be energized and opt for the embedded field or a testing field, or they can work on the latest technologies. Okay, thank you once again, Ms. Revati, and all the participants and all the coordinators who have made this happen, especially student coordinators and staff faculty coordinators. Thank you, Revati.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. It's a great pleasure for me to share my knowledge to our college students, and thanks for giving me this opportunity. So I think I've missed one of the input for the students actually. Few subjects they can concentrate on to get into an embedded firm. So you can just note down the subjects, students. First thing would be microprocessor and microcontroller. First, go ahead with EDC to understand the devices, because that will help you to know about sensors much more. Okay, so please learn EDC subject very well to understand about sensors. And next one, if you are having instrumentation subject, please do learn, which will have list of sensors in your subject, which will help you to choose sensors for your embedded application. And digital communication. Okay, this makes a wonder actually. Please do understand the subject digital communication very well, and the networking subjects, computer networks, and whatever protocol, some subject which is related to the protocol will help you to interface your microcontroller and your interfaces together to communicate, and your signal processing subjects. I think these subjects will help you a lot to gain knowledge. A basic knowledge will be sufficient to get into a company as a fresher. So please students, kindly concentrate on these subjects, and if you want to fly to Europe soon, then choose this field and you will be able to do it. Thank you, ma'am, and that's all from my side.
Thank you, Revati.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants, the feedback link has been posted in the chat box. Do fill it.
Once you have filled it, then you can log off. Sir, can you recording is stopped?